Hi, I'm Kesten Rono, and today is day 113 of A Course in Miracles, continuing with our review sessions here. On 111, we said, miracles are seen in light that we cannot see in darkness. Let the light of holiness and truth light up our minds. Miracles are seen in light, and light and strength are one. I see through strength the gift God gave me. My weakness is the dark his gift dispels. Yesterday we said, light and peace and joy abide in me. Light and joy and peace abide in you. That this is your home that you share with God. One full of light, peace and joy. And I am as God created me. You will remain forever as you have been, created by the changeless, like himself. I am as God created me. And today, for morning and evening review, do this in the morning, first thing when you wake up. Do this right before you go to sleep if you can. Please meditate on, I am one self, united with my Creator. This is lesson 95. Please repeat after me. I am one self, united with my Creator. You are one capital S self, your original mind, that which shares thoughts with God, that shares this joyous, peaceful, safe, loving home. I am one self, united with my Creator. Serenity and perfect peace are mine, because I am one self, completely whole, at one with all creation and with God. You are worthy, powerful, abundant, and complete, yes, effortlessly, innately. How can we see it? Well, see ourselves as our self. Get connected with the capital M mind, the eternal you, not just the physical you. You're fantastic at operating the physical you. Are you curious what appears to be inside the physical you? That you will discover is timeless. That is what we are discovering. Where is timelessness? Well, it is beyond the body, of course. You are not inside of your own body. Your wholeness must be achieved through your mind. That you are connected to all things, that you are naturally in love. And if you cannot see yourself, or at least be curious about a life in love, then you will be in something else. And you are looking for meaning and purpose to operate in your best interest, to take action across time and space in the physical with the truest meaning you may know. Well, that meaning, if you haven't found it in the physical, will come from the invisible. I am one self, united with my Creator. Serenity and perfect peace are mine, because I am one self, completely whole, at one with all creation, with God. May we try these words on. Please repeat after me. I am one self, united with my Creator. I am one self, united with my Creator. Reviewing 96. Salvation comes from my one self. Please repeat after me. Salvation comes from my one self. So I am one self, united with my Creator, and salvation comes from your one self. From my one self, whose knowledge still remains within my mind, I see God's perfect plan for my salvation perfectly fulfilled. From my one self, capital W, whose knowledge remains within my mind. How could your knowledge remain forever in your mind? Well, if it was eternal, connected to God in the eternal realm of knowledge. Why eternal? Beyond time. That we're accessing whatever this idea is, this feeling, our connection to tranquility, not in time, but in timelessness. That we are somehow bending the laws of physics as we understand them, of temporal order. whose knowledge still remains within my mind. God, the eternal realm of knowledge, is like the perfect server or database to store every query you've ever had, any thought you've ever had before. Why could it not be stored with the infinite that requires no energy, constant loving truth? It simply just is. So may we accept that every thought you've ever had, even the ones of which you are not aware, still exist with your whole self connected to God. I see God's perfect plan for my salvation perfectly fulfilled. How could you know this? Well, let's just say you had original thoughts with God while you were a spiritual mind, and now you are playing in a body, which is fantastic, and you still have access to spiritual mind, albeit a smaller scope, it would feel like. Would that mean that the thoughts that you have with God are no longer there? No, of course not. In this scenario, they would still be there. If you knew what you were doing before you got here, because you had all of God's thoughts, or he had all of your thoughts, then you could be privy to exactly what you're doing here, waking up to love. And if God's will for you is to notice true love and true meaning, and that's what you can notice when you're in a realm that requires this cell wall of forgiveness or salvation to move into perfect peace, perfect safety, freedom from worry. If that's where we are, then it stands to reason that we would have a thought outside of the scope of this particular system, outside of the body, in the invisible, that says, don't worry, you're going to be perfectly safe. You're just going to dip in there, assume the idea of time and space, enjoy yourself, play around, and rediscover the magic of love. Enter into what feels like darkness. Even though you are surrounded by love and perfectly safe, you're casting off from here, my son. Go forth. It will feel alarming, but the whole point is that you are there to experience, and nothing will happen to your invulnerability, not in infiniteness. It'll feel that way, but that is to feel in time and space. Enjoy the gift. Salvation comes from my one self. So coming back to our one selves in the invisible, being curious about these ideas and seeing where they take us, closer to forgiveness, closer to ease, closer to levity, closer to lightness, closer to strength, closer to this thing that is beyond evaluation, possibly permeating us, and us being curious about what it feels like. What would it take for that to be true? That's all we're curious about. Salvation comes from my one self, whose knowledge still remains within my mind. I see God's perfect plan for my salvation perfectly fulfilled. You know what you're doing here. You know it's already done because you're already safe. Everything that you're worrying about is a physical issue, and that's okay. That is the design of time and space. But if you are something that is not only your body, which many people have purported, and you've likely felt at this point, what is that? Where does that come from? What is that connected to? What are the parameters of that? How does it feel? It feels pretty timeless. It feels inexplicable compared to the physical. But here, if this was where we were in communication with God and the point from which we can say we've cast off into physical, then we're perfectly safe. We're never doubting anything once we assume that perspective, that part of us knows that this part is about the discovery and experience of love, increasing the total amount of experience that could exist, all of our thoughts still being connected, and us learning to say, oh, that's an illusion. That's not even here right now. What is it that I am, and where am I right here, right now? Maybe that's what we call truth. And when we can see it that way, maybe we're on to something about what true vision might be. So please repeat after me. Salvation comes from my one self. On the hour, I am one self, united with my Creator. And on the half hour, salvation comes from my one self. So 2 exercises, one to consider in the morning, one to consider in the evening, ideally right when you wake up or right before you go to bed. I admit I was cheating doing mine horizontally, but that's when I did them. I mean, every time I woke up, if I wasn't sure I was getting up, I tried to dive right back into the meditation. On the hour, on the half hour, when I remember, I drop what I'm doing and say it. And I try to feel for a moment and allow myself to recognize that my repetitions here are allowing me to try these ideas on in more fullness, that they're not a threat to whatever else it is that I'm doing. Once I notice, it just takes but a moment to allow myself to say, I am one self united with my Creator. I am as God created me. So please sit with these ideas morning, evening, and as many times as you can on the hour and on the half hour, with no regret but no hiding. I am one self united with my Creator. Salvation comes from my one self. I am Kesten Rono, and light and joy and peace and love abide in me. Thank you for being here. I'll see you tomorrow.